Hey everybody, this is Perch, and this is one of those videos where I don't like the answer I give, and I don't like the take that I'm about to give, but I'm giving you an honest take, and that's a much harder thing, much harder thing to come across. So, Paul Renaud, who had basically done a cover to Captain America, and on the cover you've got Cap. It's I think it's to the United States of Cap is where this cover was done, but I'm not entirely sure. But it's got Steve Rogers in his Shield outfit. It's got Sam Wilson as Cap when he was wearing the Captain America like suit, the one that's very similar to the Disney Plus show. By the way, it took me a while to get there, and in the world of comic books where realism is not a primary concern, the fact that they've got Sam Wilson heavily armored up in this new Captain America costume, but they leave his head, the top of his head uncovered, so his hair doesn't get mushed by a mask. And the fact that he flies and often leaps into battle, kind of head first, seems like an oversight. I'm just saying. I don't believe Sam Wilson doesn't have the super soldier serum, so I think if he falls wrong, it's instant brain damage. But yeah, you can't worry too. I mean, like you can focus on this stuff. It could be funny to talk about in a comic shop. Like, why would they make these decisions? But you can't get too obsessed with it because nothing makes sense if you go down that you pull on that thread hard enough. Then absolutely nothing makes sense. But it is every time I now see Sam Wilson in the Cap suit, and I think we're going to be seeing him in certainly in Disney Plus shows or movies. It's still unclear to me. Are they doing Captain America for a movie or are they doing a show? Like, people keep telling me, oh no, it's Disney stated definitively, but they've actually stated definitively both answers. So I don't know, but I do hope at some point, like if like he's gonna be flying around, throw a helmet on him. I mean, I don't know, one like midair collision with a bird could take him right out. I'm just saying. Anyway, sorry, I'm off track. Anyway, there's this cover. Got Sam Wilson in the Cap uniform. It's got Bucky in the Cap uniform that Alex Ross designed when he was briefly Captain America, and then Steve Rogers is doing his thing. Um, and in the background, there's old Steve Rogers when he was Cap. So again, I'm not sure where this cover was from, but the original art, the one that was used on the comic, had the signature from 2015. So I guess it wouldn't be United States of Cap, but anyway, anyway, whatever. Paul Renaud, and it's a really good cover. It looks really nice. The coloring is really sharp on here. I'm not sure who the colorist was or if it was Paul himself, but it pops really nicely. Like the stuff. Hopefully, you're seeing it on the screen here. It looks really good. So Marvel, the official Marvel account, put out a tweet for Veterans Day. It got 15,000 likes and a bunch of retweets and a bunch of quotes and other things. And it's the same image. Weirdly, they've muted the colors slightly. I don't know what they did to it, but like the colors are like they put a 10% white layer on top of it. No jokes, please. But it looks like they did something to it. But what Paul noticed, and you can't help not noticing, is the signature of the artist was erased. Now, the signature is not, this isn't like a Todd McFarlane, giant scroll of signature in there, or even, and I always loved Walt Simonson's dinosaur signature. If you know what I'm talking about, you know immediately what I'm talking about. I always thought that was really creative and cool. But the dinosaur signature was certainly larger in some cases, and it could, you could take up, too much of the screen. But this one is it's kind of tucked there underneath Bucky's foot, and it's a white color signature on a very light background, so it doesn't like leap out at you. I mean, you see it, but you don't you don't it doesn't draw your attention away from the image. So, which makes it a little confusing why Marvel clearly in their tweet, and again, this wasn't reprinted art. It wasn't. It was just in a tweet. They erased the signature. So somebody in there went in there with Photoshop and the color picker tool and clone, and they subtly and very carefully removed the signature. Why did they do this? Uh, why? It is a mystery. Um, and so Paul posts this and just points out that, you know, it was nice that it got a lot of likes. And he says, I would have enjoyed this a lot better had they not erased my signature for the cover. I guess that's part of the game. Invisible artist. And then a bunch of people kind of weighed in, say, what a lousy practice and everything else. And uh, yeah, this sucks. I think it sucks. I think it's gross. And what makes it lousy is that somebody made a conscious decision to go in there and edit out the signature for a tweet. And again, who cares about the tweet? I would not. I'm not personally in favor of removing the signature for anything. Like if this was being printed on a mug or a T-shirt or something like that, I think removing the signature is a lousy deal. But it's baffling why they would do this for a tweet. I mean, obviously, the people who are seeing the tweet knows that somebody drew it. Like, I mean, you can't. There's obviously an artist that did this. So what the hell? Why would you do this? And why would you take the time to do it? Like I know the mechanics of how you do this. It would take not long, but you're talking about 5 minutes or so of somebody's time of grabbing the file, opening it up in high res, taking the clone tool or whatever you're doing, and kind of very carefully editing out the signature and then zooming out to make sure it doesn't look all weird and blurry. So the person who edited this did a good job. They did a perfectly acceptable job of editing this thing out. But it's lousy that they did it. But here's the thing, and here's the part where I don't like what I'm about to say. It is completely within Marvel's rights to do it. They paid for the art. A check was given to Paul, and they own it. And if they want to remove the signature, it's absolutely in their rights to do so. And it's not wrong legally. It's not wrong from a business perspective. It's not technically even wrong from a moral perspective, or even, I don't even if morality even applies here, but I mean, they have the rights to do it. Paul knew what he was getting himself into. They gave him a check and money changed hands, art served, and at the end, right? All good. It is a bad practice though. And it's a bad practice primarily because who is this even for? Like, why are they doing this? I've had this debate with another artist who was kind of copying Todd McFarlane, where they had a very, I don't want to use the word obnoxious, but very obvious signature that you could see immediately, and took the eye away from the art. And Marvel used to edit out his signature when they would put work on T-shirts and other things. And even though I still think the person deserves credit, I get it. I get why, especially on a T-shirt or a piece of media, why you don't want the signature being the first thing your eye is drawn to. Totally makes sense. I understand. Always felt weird to me. Always. Whenever I had to do some copy editing, and there'd be times where I need to do some things, it always felt very strange to go in and modify somebody else's work. I hated doing it. I would never touch the signature of somebody else's work. But again, the company buys it, company right to do it. I wonder, like, what was the thought process? I would love to be in the office where it's like, hey, let's get this image out there for this tweet. Let's get the material all pulled together so this thing can go out on Twitter for Veterans Day. Make sure you get in there and edit out that signature. There was a conscious choice. This wasn't like, hey, put out this art and don't credit the person. It wasn't an error by omission. It wasn't like, it wasn't like you could just overlook the fact. You had to think through opening up the file, editing out the signature, making sure it still looked okay, saving it, sending it back clean. Like, I'd love to see the email. I made a comment, and Paul correctly pointed out, it's not that guy's fault. But I'm like, I feel bad for the poor, a-hole who had to do this job. Like the poor art graphic designer who got the email like, hey, take this image and get rid of the signature and send it back to me. Like the person who was doing that job the entire time they're in Photoshop making those edits, they're doing evil. They should know that. They have to know that they're doing wrong. But that, again, it's not the choice of the person who is that person. That poor person's just trying to get paid for their work. They're not, they're just trying to make it through the day. But I would love to see that mail. Don't you? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you love to see the email that said, "Hey, let's get rid of this guy's signature"? I mean, I just wonder, was there a conversation? Did the person who's doing this like, wait, why? Why are we doing that? Like, what? Why should we do this? Who's gonna care? I would also like to know the one, like, who's the person out there who's like, I'd really love to enjoy this Veterans Day image, but I can't help. I can't because there's a signature of the artist that's very subtly tucked into the background here, and the fact that it's there, it broke the illusion for me. I was on the same page of believing that there could be three Captain Americas and for Veterans Day, that they were not fictional people. But when that signature was there, it just really drilled it home for me that none of these people are real, and so I'm out. Like, who did this? Um, it kind of, the reason why I get kind of hung up on this in the sense of like, again, the company has the rights to do it, but why would you do it? And the fact that you just the fact that you're doing it, just it gross, right? Like, I think that speaks to a bigger problem at the company, where the companies view the art and the artist as so disposable that for a tweet they're willing to invest time and money, because time is money, to actually edit this thing out. Like, that seems so broken, like thoroughly broken, that somebody would take the time to do this, right? I think that speaks to a really gross company policy, and the problem is we are entering into a labor market, in the sense that, hey, if a couple of mechanics, if a couple of mechanics can be worked out and things can get better, then yeah, a lot of artists can actually make more money on crowdfunded books or indie projects, or even, hell, even just selling their services to game companies or tech companies. You can do that and make more than working for the big two as an artist. So at some point you have to ask yourself, like, why am I putting up with this shit when I could just make more money somewhere else? And so if you're the big two, you should be thinking about how to treat your talent, particularly your artists. I think the big two treat their writers, I mean, it flipped since the early 90s, and the big two preference the writers far more than the artists, and this seems like yet another step down in that slide of just bad decisions that ultimately are going to make a lot of people want to say, I don't want to work for you. There's plenty of artists out there right now who don't want to work for Marvel and DC and do it holding their nose because they need the cash. If better opportunities arise elsewhere, they're not going to come work for you. And I think Marvel in particular views it as, well, we're the number one company. Everyone wants to work with us. Who wouldn't want to work with us? So we don't need to worry about it because there's always talent somewhere. And I think they may discover, but there's not, especially doing stunts like this. Again, absolutely, they're in the rights to do it, but it's the wrong thing to do, in my opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Erasing a signature, good or bad? Seems strange. Thanks for listening.